Do you want to improve at a quicker pace? Check out the GitGud course. Instead of just understanding concepts, you'll learn how to implement them directly into your driving. What makes it effective is the approach and practical drills. Together, we're gonna focus on breaking down those complex concepts into small digestible bits that are simple to understand. Everything from the course was tested and refined during the years in coaching sessions, so what I ended up with was the ones that I saw were the most effective. Let's elevate your racing skills together. Now for the track guide. Before starting, if you enjoyed this content, giving it a like and a subscribe, it's a free way to support the channel as I can continue to create videos like this. Now going into the track guide itself, for turn 1 what you want to focus is being hard on the brakes. As you can notice right here, I'm dialed the brake bias towards the rears. I'm using a 53.8 brake bias in this lap, and this is important because you can brake a lot harder without locking the front tires and you can get a bit more of the rotation. I'm using the fixed setup, so this was the only change that I did. In terms of the braking point itself, I'm braking slightly past the beginning of the curb, but the beginning of the curb is generally a good reference for braking. You want to brake in a straight line. This is key because you will brake quite hard. You will get very close to 100, as you can see here, 97 on the initial peak, and you will keep the steering wheel straight. And you'll be able to brake this hard and this late because of the brake bias. It will shorten your braking distance, but at the same time, it will make you less likely to lock the front tires, which is a big issue. Now, whenever you're taking this corner, you want to bleed the brakes quite quickly, and in second gear you want to hit this green right here with your tire, and the moment that you hit it, put the throttle back in. So as you can see, you can use as an apex point this stick on the right side. When your nose is at the stick, just push the throttle. This will give you a nice exit without sacrificing the entry. So right here, pushing the throttle, I lose a bit on the exit because you see I'm modulating the throttle. This is something that you don't really want to do. You want to be a bit more straightforward with your throttle. That's going to be ideal. Now going into turn 2, my reference for braking is the 50 board, but I'm not looking too much at the 50. I'm looking at the 50 before aligning myself. And as I get closer and closer to the corner, I'm looking at the stick near the apex. So the first things first, you want to use all the tracks. So you want to put your right tire all the way to the grass. As you can notice, there's a little bit of space between this white and red curb and the grass, this grayish part. This is where you want to put your tire, your right tire. And at the 50 right here, I will turn into the corner. You want to turn in without braking first. But as I was saying, I'm not looking at the 50 at this point in time because I'm focusing more at the apex. You want to get as close as you can to this stick on the left side. So I'm turning with 100% throttle into the corner. This is key because you want to carry the downforce while going into the corner. Now I'm applying the brakes like it's 10%, not even 10%, I'm dropping it to 5. So you really want to keep the minimum speed up and you don't want to over brake into this corner. This is a high speed corner. The only reason we're using the brakes is to put a bit of weight on the front tires so that the car will point just a bit more. And you want to still hold the brakes up until you get very close to this stick right here. The closer you're gonna get, the better it's gonna be, and don't have a gap in your inputs. So you will stay on the brakes and then immediately go back on throttle. As you notice here, I'm holding 2%, 1%, 0, and now I'm going on throttle. So there is one frame in which I'm not either on the brakes nor on throttle. Keep this in mind because you can gain a lot of time here if you minimize these moments or if you completely get rid of them. Now you can use all this red without getting an off track. You either use everything or you're not using anything at all. If you're using in between, this curve right here can make your tire slide on it and you will lose time. So don't half-ass it. You either use it all the way or not using it at all. Obviously, if you're not using it at all, you will lose a bit of time, but you will lose a bit less time than using it halfway through. So best advice, using all the way to the red. Now pushing into this corner, this is quite tricky to get it perfect, because you will have to do a bit of a lift here to prepare the next corner, so this won't be flat, at least not with a fixed setup. So what I'm doing right now, I'm looking at this Marshall orange on the right side. So at this part of the wall is called orange, I'm looking at it, and before it I'm doing a small lift. I'm doing a small lift right here, I'm pushing the throttle back to 100, and I'm aiming to cut this part near the grass. As you can see, there's a bit of concrete near the grass, and this is my apex point into this corner. I want to put my tire on it, so the corrections that I'm doing on throttle, I'm doing them in advance so that I can use this part of the track, putting the tire on it and then immediately get back on power. In the end, you want to be in the center of the track before the next corner. You don't want to be all the way to the left side. It's going to be impossible to bring the car in time. But also, if you're all the way to the right side, then you're scrubbing too much speed. Your lift is probably too big in the previous corner, so keep that in mind as well. As for the braking, I'm looking at the 50, and it's exactly like turn 2. Don't spend too much time looking at the 50-meter board, because if you will have the eyes on the apex, even a few milliseconds earlier, your car will go wherever you're looking. So I'm looking at the 50 just from the distance. Now my vision is on the left side. I want to have the car straight before braking. And what's important into this corner, whenever you're going downhill like this, it's so easy to lock up the tires whenever you're going downhill. This elevation change adds another layer into this corner and makes it even harder. So what I'm doing right now is I'm trying to downshift as quickly as I can. I'm trying to use the rear tires to brake. I'm trying to add the engine braking, and I don't want to brake too hard for the front tires. Obviously, you can go with the brake bias and dial it down a few clicks, but you will have a far superior balance if you just brake softer into this corner, downshift quickly, brake softer, and aim at this green near the apex. So notice right now that I'm on throttle at this point in time, even before touching the apex. So you want to be early on throttle, because the car, as you get into this part, you will have more grip. So the grip levels are changing dynamically into this corner. You have slightly less grip, now you have a bit more, and when you get on the exit you will have just a slightly bit less. So you have to adapt your inputs to reflect this change in grip levels, and at this point in time you have a lot of grip, so you have to use it. So go early on throttle, get as close as you can to this yellow sausage curb and drift all the way to the outside like this. You can even put your tire on the end of this red and white and still won't be on off track, so you can use a bit more and still won't be on off track, and you will gain a lot of time. Now going into the next corner, going into the last sector of the track, quite tricky. My braking reference is the 50-meter board again, so I'm braking slightly before the 50, but in this lap I was braking a bit too early. You will see that I'm gonna lose 2/10. I will get it back on the exit, but there's a bit more that you can gain into this corner if you're just a bit more confident with the brakes. Obviously, it's not an easy corner to brake, because the reference for braking is on the right side. It's not in front of us, so your vision has to be on the apex. This makes the corner a lot trickier. Now braking, trail braking all the way, and I aim to cut this curb almost to the orange part, like this, putting the throttle at the apex. And for this corner, I'm trying to balance the car with the throttle lift. So whenever I'm doing this throttle lift, I'm first turning and then doing the lift, cutting all the way to the grass. This is key. You have to exploit the track as much as you can around here and around this sector. And now getting the power back again, getting very close to this yellow sausage curb again. But if you will hit it, you will have a hard time, because the car will almost jump forwards. So there's a high risk, high reward into this sector. You can easily lose 2 or 3 tenths just by being just a bit safer, just risking a bit more. The next corner, this is probably the easiest in this sequence. So you want to touch this curbing on the left side with the left tires. I'm braking when I'm quite close to it, so I don't have an exact reference for braking. I judge just the distance through the corner. And in fourth gear, I'm downshifting to third and immediately get back on power. I want to get very close to this stick once again and now keeping the throttle pinned, you will get very close to those yellow sausage curves. And again, this is a big risk because if you hit it, you will lose instantly 3/10. But say you're getting it right, then you want to get all the way to the outside almost for the next corner. And what's important here, and there's one mistake that I did in this lap, there's probably 1.5 tenths that I lost here. You don't want to downshift quickly in this corner. In this corner, because you're going uphill and it's a left-hander, the rear will get loose. So you either move the brake bias forward before this corner, or if you're doing with the same brake bias, you will have to delay on purpose the downshift to third gear. Because if you will do it quickly, like for third, then the rear is gonna snap. And this is what happens to me. I'm downshifting a bit too quickly, and the combination of braking, rail braking, and the downshift and the steering wheel angle, and this change of elevation, lower grip, lower mechanical grip, is making the rear too loose. So at this point in time, you see I have to counter steer while going into this corner. And this is such an early moment to do the counter steer because I want to point the car more, but I'm not able to do that because the car will over rotate. So in a way I overcompensate, I go on throttle a bit too early. So you see I have to do these inputs which are not ideal. Ideally, you don't want to have oversteer on entry. Try to get a neutral balance on entry, slightly more towards understeer. This will work better because you will have a superior exit, and also you'll be able to carry a bit more speed there. And now going into the last corner, again, you want to get a bit closer to the edge of the track. In third gear, you just want to trail brake up until you hit this green. So as you can see here, I could have gotten a bit closer to the green. Your goal will be to get closer to the green, but not before this yellow sausage curve, but afterwards. So around here where my mouse pointer is, this is where you want to apex. Smash the throttle, keep it pinned, get very close to the anti-curbs on the exit, and in short, that's a track guide of Fuji with the F4. This is a tough track, but the racing is probably gonna be quite nice around here. So I wish you good luck in this week 2 of season 4. And if you want to improve at a quicker pace, if you like this type of content and you learn from it, then I'm sure that you will learn even more from my sim racing course. It's in the video description. It packs around 7-8 hours worth of content. And again, thanks for watching, thanks for sticking around, and looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye bye!